So I have COVID. Before you freak out, I'm mostly okay. I'm triple jabbed and I got my booster back in December, which means it's been over 6 months. But I mean, so far, I don't want to jinx things, but I'm feeling quite okay. The worst I've had is a sore throat and like some muscle pains. So fingers crossed it doesn't get worse than this. I really hope I don't jinx myself. So it's been a day and a half since I tested positive, and the worst part so far isn't actually the symptoms. It is actually, well, there it is. It's actually having to cancel lots of my travel plans that I've made just for this week. It's the worst timing ever. I could have gotten it last week or next week, it would have been better, but now... So tomorrow I would have gone down to London to meet some friends, and particularly an Israeli friend who is visiting the UK for a couple of days. So I was going to film a vlog in Hebrew for you guys, maybe to show off my skills a little bit. But speaking is hard. I haven't spoken since I tested positive, and now suddenly I realize how hard it is. But yeah, so that's why for the past couple of weeks, since the Polyglot gathering, I've been trying to brush up on my Hebrew a little bit. So that's kind of pointless now, isn't it? I did have fun though. So now that I'm sick, and officially very terribly sick, my brain is on full procrastination mode. So there are lots of things I'm supposed to do, but my brain just refuses to do any of it. But at the same time, I consciously refuse to do nothing at all. So what I've decided to do is spend some more time than usual working on my languages. Oh, there it is. So here is the peek into what I've been up to so far in terms of languages. So because I can't film that vlog, I can't show you my Hebrew level, but I can tell you about it. I'm at a point where I can speak quite comfortably in daily life situations. Back at the Polyglot gathering, I had a lot of fun speaking to Hebrew-speaking people, especially after a couple of beers. And for most daily conversations, I think I do quite well. But ironically, my reading is still crap, which is atypical for me because I usually spend more time immersing in the language before actually using it with people. But because of the way the Hebrew language is written, which is, well, for one, it's a foreign script, and also it's written without vowels, so I have to spend a lot of time getting used to figuring out what the words are when I read. As a result, reading Hebrew doesn't come as naturally as speaking for me. So a couple of months ago I talked to an Israeli friend about this, and they suggested I get some short stories, which is so obvious now that I mention it, but yeah, that's what I did. I went to Amazon, picked up some books, and I started reading this month. But now that I look at the books that I actually bought, it's really ironic. You'll see in a second. So the first one that I've actually started reading is called Sipurona, I think. So it's a portmanteau of Sipur, which means story, and Corona. Obviously, you see this cute little virus here. So this is a collection of stories that were written by various authors during the coronavirus lockdown in Israel. I've successfully read the first one, which is a really weird sci-fi story that involves a lot of different pop culture sci-fi elements, and somehow a lot of something that's very not child appropriate. I won't mention it here, but you can imagine. There's some aliens in there, and yeah, so it took me around 2 nights to read that first story, which is around 15 pages. And it wasn't easy, because for one, there's a lot of sci-fi vocabulary that I didn't know. For example, Igeret, which is sort of a communique, as we say in English. I think that just means a message, which we have easier words for, but because it's a sci-fi, they use more complicated words. And Yachefu, which means to hover, well, they will hover. So these are words that I've never come across before, and I just find it really exciting to learn about them. So I started trying to read without dictionary. So the first part of it, I did try to do that, and I realized that wasn't going to work because of the special vocabulary that wasn't very easy for me to guess. Especially when there is too many unknown words put together, it's just impossible to get from context. So I started looking up words that seemed important, judging from the sentence or from the frequency of the word. And so I actively tried to avoid looking up every word that I didn't know, even though I did end up doing something like that. But at least I did enjoy the story and I had a good idea of what was going on in it. So now I'm trying to reread it with the knowledge of the storyline, and this time I'm actually trying to read it without dictionary. Oh, by the way, I really love how the book opens this way, which is the opposite of English books, because it feels really familiar, because back when I read Chinese novels, the vertical ones, they also open this way, because Chinese, when written vertically, goes from right to left. So this feels right at home. And the other book I picked up, which I haven't started reading yet, is Az Marshav, So What Now? And that's also really ironic, because after I tested positive and told my Israeli friend whom I was going to meet, that was exactly what I said to them. So I don't know what it's about, but it looks interesting and I got it. So last week, before I knew that I had the virus, I went to the University Language Center. So they have a language learning library, which I found really interesting. But last time I went, which was the better part of a year ago, they had just had a flooding. And thankfully, the books and materials were not affected for some reason, thank God. But they were busy sort of fixing the place, so I couldn't actually go inside and check them out. And it turns out a few months ago it has reopened, but I didn't realize that. So I went to visit the library last week and was slightly disappointed because I expected a much bigger place. It was sort of one room with a bunch of shelves in the middle for each language. And on the walls, they have a bunch of shelves with DVDs of movies in those languages. So I started wanting to look at some DVDs, but then I realized that there's so much more I can watch on the internet than from a DVD. And on the internet, there may be subtitles, I can rewind more easily, so I just threw that idea out the window. And then I looked at books, and something that surprised me, but really shouldn't, was the lack of Welsh things, because we live kind of close to North Wales, where Welsh is most spoken. But I guess it's a really niche language, that's why there isn't much materials. So what I found was like one or two beginner self-study books, but from the 1970s. So I was sort of put off by the sheer ancientness of the paper in those books. And then there was one binder of actual course notes from a Welsh course of a beginner class, which was really interesting. Why are there class notes in the library? So someone must have donated them as a book, maybe. And then there was a bunch of native Welsh books, which maybe someday I can read, but I'm definitely not there yet. So what I ended up picking up there was this self-study Hebrew book. Again, it opens from this way. It's all in Hebrew, which is good. I think that's, it says intermediate, which is where I am now in Hebrew. And I thought this might help me practice reading, especially, oh my god, these handwritten letters, I can't read them at all. So at least this is kind of a new book. It's not from like half a century ago. My goodness, the 70s are half a century ago. But the problem with this book is that I have to renew it every single week. And the way to do it is by email or by phone. I can't even do it online. So I'm kind of put off by this procedure that I have to take in order to keep the book. Because I don't know about public libraries here, but back home, libraries usually give up loans of like at least 2 weeks, and then you can renew them online, which is way more handy. And of course, with a textbook like this, it's going to take a while to go through. I think maybe a few months at least. It is quite a thick book. But so I don't know if I'm actually going to go through it, or maybe I might try to buy this somewhere. It looks really good. So yeah, another thing that I've been doing, which I've been doing for like a year now, is doing some Closemaster every single day. I have a decently long streak on there, which I'm actually more proud of than Duolingo, because for one, Closemaster doesn't have streak freezes, so if you messed up it's gone. And also, it has separate streaks for each language, so I actually have to do the different languages every single day. So Closemaster is a website, not sponsored, where you can practice your vocabulary in context, as in it shows you a sentence and then you have to fill in the blank. So you have the option of multiple choice, or you have to type it in. So I decided to be quite strict on myself because I want to make sure that I actually learn the words. So I turn off multiple choice, I have to type in each word myself. And also, if that word reaches 100%, which means I've gone through it 4 times, but I still can't recall it without help, then I kick it all the way back to 25 or 50%. So I make sure that I keep doing the sentences until I can recall each word on my own, just from the sentence and from the translation. So every day I wake up to around 150 reviews, could be more or less. So my pattern or rule for myself is every day I do at least 50 sentences or 50 reviews, but also I make sure that I take the number of reviews down to 50 or less. So usually I end up doing around 100 reviews every day in each language, and I then do 20 new sentences. So yeah, sorry for the cuts because I'm coughing a lot, I'm cutting a lot. That's a Cantonese pun for you. So yeah, I'm doing Closemaster only in Polish and Hebrew for now. I tried doing some Welsh, but because again Welsh is a niche language, the support isn't as good in Welsh. So when you go in there, your only option is to do random sentences instead of sentences sorted by difficulty, or words by frequency, or from easy to hard, etc. So a lot of times you would actually get really hard sentences right from the start, so I gave up doing that. And the last language thing I've been doing is some leisure reading for fun. So I actually showed off this book when I filmed the last part of my Polyglot Gathering vlog, which you should definitely check out. It's in Cantonese but subtitled in English. I have this book, actually another one as well, that I picked up in Poland when I casually went into a language bookshop in Krakow. So it's a grammar of the Turkish language in Polish, and I started reading it because I found it interesting. This is such a nerdy thing to do, but because it's an agglutinative language, which means it's built from sort of like Lego blocks. So you can actually grab a bunch of different suffixes and stack them together to get a new word. So I started reading it simply out of interest, and I'm sort of halfway through, way more than halfway through. I read about the verbs and the conjugations, and the funny thing is, I actually don't know any words, any vocabulary at all in this language. I just know the grammar and whatever words that happened to be in their examples. So I would read the example sentences in Turkish and in Polish, and then try to figure out what word means what. I started doing that on my flight back home from Poland, and of course on the flight I didn't have Google Translate, so it was a lot of guesswork, and it was really fun. It's kind of like doing the Linguistics Olympiad. I've sort of taken a break since finishing reading the verbs, but I might pick it up again soon, so we'll see. So yeah, all in all, I think I've sort of taken a short hiatus after the Polyglot Gathering because that was such a burnout. I kept telling people that my brain was so fried by the end of the thing, I couldn't even keep Cantonese words out of my English. And speaking Cantonese and English, or switching between them, is one of the things I do on a daily basis. That was really funny. I would speak English to someone and then suddenly use a Cantonese word. Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. So I sort of took a break, but now I'm sort of trying to get back in the swing of things. I'm trying to book some lessons now with my old teachers that you would have seen on my channel. Check out my Speaking Everyday series. I'm really bummed out that I'm not meeting my friend and also not filming that hero vlog in that order. But I'm trying to get my Hebrew reading in order. But now I'm also trying to learn to balance my work and life. So in this case, work would be music, life would be languages. So over the past year, whenever I had a music deadline, I would dedicate way too much time and energy to it in order to finish my work, and that sort of caused me a lot of stress, and I couldn't relax at all, which isn't good for my mental health. So now I'm trying to get a good balance of things, so work hard and also play hard, play in the sense of studying languages. So over the summer, I'll be trying to do some Welsh as well, for real this time, not just Duolingo, because I'm going to Cardiff in September for a week or so. Not expecting to actually speak any there, but I would be very excited to actually see the Welsh in the wild, in shops and stuff. So yeah, let's see how it goes. I'll keep you updated. And thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please do give me a like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. And if you want to know more about my studies and the language things I've been doing, I recently published a blog post which is an update on what I've been doing so far this year. And I hope to see you in the next video. Cheers!